a friend of mine called me from Los Angeles, and she said, hey, Nili, could we sponsor a short shiur all about dance and Purim and the profound spiritual depths? I said, with pleasure, but why? And she said, well, we're hosting a dance party in LA on Purim, and I don't just want the women to think that it's just for funsies. Like, I want them to truly understand that dance is a profound spiritual avodah. I said, yalla, let's dive in. So here are 4 epic teachings about dance and Torah for Purim. Number 1, clapping. What are you talking about? All right. Rabbi Nachman is known to be the greatest master of joy in Judaism. He's a Hasidic rabbi from about 400 years ago. And the books Likutei Moharan are attributed to his teachings. And in 110 and 224, he says this famous line, and it goes like this: Al yadei nigunim umechiat kaf nimtakin kol hadinim. By way of clapping hands and dancing, then you can sweeten the harsh decrees in heaven. What? Through singing and dancing and clapping, you can sweeten harsh decrees in heaven? Like, it's cute, but what do you mean? Wow, it's really deep. Are you ready for this? Okay, first of all, if you've ever gone to a self-help seminar, they'll a lot of times make some sort of big gesture or noise and tell you, change state, change state, change state, start again, break free. Tony Robbins will do this, Rav Pliskin will do this, Rav Twersky will do this. They'll all make a noise, they'll clap. It's a change state. Why? Because it's trying to shake us out of our state of melancholy, of despair, of stuckness and stagnation, to think that things can't change, and lets us know that in the blink of an eye or a clap, everything can be turned upside down. A harsh decree could be nullified, just as it was in the story of Purim. You could turn the corner and meet your soulmate. They could develop a cure for whatever it is that you're going to. But you have to be willing to change state, to start again, to wake up. Also, we know that this month of Adar parallels the month of Elul. They hold different polarities during the calendar year. And in Elul, we arise to greeting Hashem through a sort of awe and fear and trepidation of what's to come. But on Purim, we awaken and we arise and we snap out of this long winter out of love and out of joy to begin again. So just by nature of the fact that clapping can wake us up, mitorer. Come on, let's go, my friends. Why do you think people clap when they're trying to encourage you? It wakes us up. It reminds us that good is possible, that everything can flip on its head. Well, that's cute, Nili, but can you give us some spiritual mechanics? Absolutely. Okay, so according to the nature of your body, most of us have 10 fingers, right? Well, 10 is a number that parallels the Kabbalistic amount of sfirot. Yeah? So now, you have 10 different divine emanations of God's light that channel down to create the world, and you have 10 different fingers. It's not random. What happens when we clap, spiritually speaking, is we're bringing together all of the energy of these divine emanations into unity, into oneness, and everybody knows that life feels a lot better when we're unified and working as one. That's one aspect of clapping. The next aspect of clapping is simply that we're bringing together your right hand and your left hand. Literal polarities, chesed and gevura, darkness and light, Haman and Mordechai. Purim is all about uniting polarities to the point that we curse our savior Mordechai and bless our enemy Haman, because in the end we realize, much like the yin and yang, everything really is one. So when we're bringing together both sides of the polarity into oneness, we're smushing all concepts of duality in the world and remembering that it's all one. So that's cool. It changes your state. There's 10 fingers. It brings polarity and duality into unity. Is there more? Of course. Here's the thing. In Judaism, your hand is called a yad in Hebrew. Yad has the numerical value of 14. Yeah? Interestingly enough, we have 14 knuckles in each of our hands. Fascinating. So we have 14 knuckles, that's a yad. 14 knuckles, that's a yad. Well, 14 and 14 together make the number 28. What is 28? It's koach, power. It's a reminder on Purim, when we clap, that the power really is in our hands to manifest a whole different decree for ourselves, for the world, for everything that's to come. Literally, the koach is in our hands. So we bring our hands together in clapping and in joy. We remind ourselves not only of all this unification and unity, but also of the power that is in our hands. In the Purim story, it was the Jews who made a revolution, took the power into their hands and flipped everything upside down. So yes, simply through clapping our hands, we can sweeten decrees in heaven, and we restore the power back to ourselves to make a difference where things don't seem aligned. But the song says, Al Yadei Nigunim, through singing and dancing and clapping, that we can sweeten decrees. So what's up with dancing, yo? This is really, really epic and amazing. Rabbi Nachman explains that just as there's gravity in the world, right? I have a pen, I let it go, it drops, right? Things go down. Well, so too, there is spiritual gravity. And spiritual gravity is the weights that pull us down in the world. It could be depression, despair, anxiety, lackluster, giving up, tiredness, fatigue, being worn out, weary. These are all forces of spiritual gravity that pull on us. So what do we do about that? Well, Rabbi Nachman explains that when you dance, and specifically when you dance by lifting 2 feet off the ground, you're actually severing spiritual gravity. So one exercise that I like to do with students, or specifically on Purim, is one person goes down to the ground. You have to be very careful not to get squished. One friend goes to the ground and the other jumps as high as they can, and the other takes their hand like a laser beam and like severs, as if the spiritual gravity beneath their feet that was pulling them down, weighing them down, all the things that were weighing them down. And you could have a kavanah, an intention, as you're doing this jumping exercise with a friend, that's as if slicing your spiritual gravity so that you can feel free and elevated again, to let go of all the things that are weighing you down. So literally, dancing defies spiritual gravity and allows us to restore ourselves to our natural elevated state, where we could fly high and where we realize that our ceiling is God's floor, where there is no limit, where hakol yachol, we can just travel upwards and upwards into divine bliss and possibilities for wonderful things to happen. So wow, that's pretty amazing. But is there more on dance? Of course. So here's the thing. We know that dance was actually the precedent of our first redemption out of Egypt. We know that as we went through Yam Suf, as we went through the split sea, that the women danced in circles, in mecholot. And often when the Tanakh, the Torah is referring to dancing, it will refer to it as mecholot, circles. Yeah? So this is really particularly special because, as I learned from my teacher, Mora Leah Golem, the word mecholot, a dance circle, is from the same root or shorish as the word mechila, forgiveness. If we really want to dance freely, we have to let go of resentments and grudges, because how can you really be free if you're holding on to anger or grudge? In fact, Reb Shlomo Karlibach points out that one of the reasons that Purim is considered higher than Yom Kippur, right? Because Yom Kippur is called a day like Purim. It's not even on the level. Why? Because on Yom Kippur, we spend the whole day asking forgiveness from one another. But on Purim, we're so drunk with love that we already forgave each other, right? You could see your enemy on Purim, and you're not going to be awkward and be like, maybe could I have forgiveness? But rather you hand them a mishloach manot. They're already forgiven. And even if it's just for that day and you come back to your sober state and you don't forgive them anymore, the idea of Purim is to get so drunk. Okay, yes, we use alcohol, but to get so drunk on love that forgiveness is already there. And so hence you can see the connection between dancing and forgiveness. And that when you dance, especially in circles, you're holding the hands of the person next to you. And as my teacher Morlea Golem says, what's so incredible about dancing is then when you step to the next step, you're actually standing in their shoes. And it's one of the first times that we open up to being willing to see what it's like from another person's perspective. Now, yes, these are spiritual metaphor, but it's super profound. And when you dance, you're equal. God is in the center. Unity is in the center. No one is above or below. And once we hold all these concepts of forgiveness, of equality, of standing in each other's shoes, then and only then we can really truly reach joy. It's also a taste of the future, this idea of dancing, and the past, we said, with the Yam Suf, and of the future, because it says in the Gemara in Ta'anit 31a, and I believe it's attributed to the Arizal, that in the future Hashem will make a circle for the righteous, but hopefully in the end we'll all be considered righteous, and we'll dance around Him. So there's a glimpse of Olam Haba when we dance, when we forgive, when we allow ourselves to be free in this way. But more on that in a moment. Okay, here we go. Next, dance as related to this concept in Purim of ad delo yada, that you're supposed to get so drunk that you don't even know. Again, the difference between Haman and Mordechai, this idea of getting beyond our minds, beyond our intellects. And so it actually makes a lot of sense that if we're supposed to be beyond our minds, beyond knowing, then one way to transcend the mind is through the body, right? Somatic exercises, dance. It's literally a healing for the body if you just look at it from the physical standpoint, right? We shake off trauma. Like animals, if they have trauma, they shake it off, they get it out. And here the Arizal points out that when you dance, you can release trapped sparks that fell from the original primordial creation. You take them out of concealment and you elevate them. So literally, dance shakes the spiritual sparks that have fallen in this world, reveals them and elevates them, just the same way as we do with trauma. We can literally shake it out of our body. I mean, we could go on and on with the physical, but the lymphatic system flowing again brings flow back to the body. It literally restores health. And when we are healthy and when we are aligned, we are increasingly happy. The Baal Shem Tov says every single limb can serve God. The Maggid of Mezrich says that when the body wants to move in holiness, when the body moves in holiness, when it dances, it unifies the upper and lower worlds, making dance the integration of heaven and earth. It's again this incredibly unifying experience that lets us get out of the mind, beyond the mind, and to serve God, which is in a way that's beyond the initial tree of knowledge of good and bad. When you're dancing, it's not thinking what's good and bad. You're moving and you're flowing with exactly what is. It's that state of beyond, where we serve God from a level that's way higher. And when we do this, we're released from the entrapments of the heart, from the things that we thought about that must be this or that way. When we're released, we're free, and then, wow, we can truly soar. Not only that, my friends, point number 4 is that dance helps us break the ego and return to humility. So here's why. Do you actually know who the most famous dancer in Jewish history is? It might be kind of surprising for you. It's King David. It says in Shmuel Bet 6:14, "V'David mekarker bechol oz lifnei Hashem," that King David danced with all of his might before God. When they brought the Aron, I believe it was into the old city, King David was as if said to be like somersaulting and doing cartwheels and flips and tricks. Like there's even a song in Israel that he did breakdancing before the Lord. But guess what? His wife, Michal, was so embarrassed. She criticized him for it. She was like, I can't believe you did that. How dare a king of such high stature dance in such a foolish, ridiculous way? But then Michal is criticized for criticizing David. Why? In dancing with all of his might before God, it wasn't just dancing because of joy or because he was happy that the ark was there. It was an act of self-nullification. It was an act of breaking his own ego. The king should dance ridiculously? And it's like, yeah, even the king can be humble. And that's one thing about dancing, is it's really going beyond our ego. If you want to be an incredible dancer, no one is going to ooh and ah about you. You're not going to feel those immense feelings of relief and freedom if you're just kind of doing a little thing. You have to break free and tap into what's ridiculous and move in ways that might be embarrassing. It's also, by the way, why I chose to wear this costume for this recording, is because it's really actually truly quite embarrassing, and I feel like I look quite foolish. But if I really want to talk about breaking the ego and moving into humility, then I want to step into that movement of breaking the ego that dance does, but that also costume wearing does as well. And that's why a lot of people will host dance parties on Purim, is to help people break out of their egoic shell, go beyond themselves, be like Mashiach ben Perzi, to break through our natural limitations of our ego so that we are more free to serve God. which is why it's interesting, because we said that this sort of dance can bring you to joy, to simcha. Well, if you look at the word simcha, I learned from the art scroll, from the Ramban's letter, that simcha actually has the root macheh, to erase, in it. And that for true joy, I must erase my own ego and put the Creator at center. And when I can do that, I really return to trust and to joy. You know, in the beginning, when I was singing you the song, and then I said, okay, now jump where it says, I bet there was a lot of resistance. And a lot of times in dancing and dressing up, there's a lot of resistance, but that resistance is just there to protect the ego. But the ego, we know, is etching God out. It's where God remains hidden in the darkness of our ego. But Purim is always about revealing what is hidden. It's letting our godliness, our true exuberant joy out beyond any barriers, you know. So in the end, once we've looked at clapping and the profundities of clapping and changing state and the Kabbalistic nature of our body and how it works, and dancing as a spiritual practice and as a way to break spiritual gravity and as a way to tap into forgiveness and equality and reclaim the precedent of redemption and tune into that taste of Olam Haba, where we all in a circle together. And then we look at dancing as this place that's beyond intellect, ad de lo yada. It's embodiment, it's restoring health and happiness, it's shaking off trauma to begin anew. And the aspect of humility, that it's a way to help us return to our truest selves that are not blocked by our ego. We really come to understand that in Chassidut, dance is not entertainment, it's not cutesies, it's not funsies, it's a true spiritual avodah, it's a true work. And it could be as difficult as giving a large amount of tzedakah or helping your neighbor when you're just busy and they really need. Dance on Purim is a spiritual alchemy. It's a divine service that literally, as we expressed and Rabbi Nachman said, it transforms. It sweetens dinim, it elevates sparks, it expands our consciousness, it breaks sadness, it integrates body and soul. It's a literal weapon against depression, stuckness, resistance, and stagnation. It creates equality in community. You know, test it out at your own dance party. If you feel better or worse than someone, get jiggy with it and see how those ego setups are destroyed. It draws down divine light, and as we said, it's a taste of Olam Haba, when we will all dance together in a circle in equality with God at the center. So let us use dance as this spiritual tool, and let us transform decrees and use dance as a form of practicing embodied redemption. Good Purim, good Purim. To my friends hosting the dance party, I hope it is so elevated, and I hope that you guys all get way beyond your kelim and reveal the joy inside of you that's been waiting to burst forth since our first redemption until the final one. Good Purim!